The Lockheed Martin F-35 Lightning II is an American family of single-seat, single-engine, supersonic stealth strike fighters, a multirole combat aircraft designed for both air superiority and strike missions. It also has electronic warfare and intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance capabilities. Lockheed Martin is the prime F-35 contractor with principal partners Northrop Grumman and BAE Systems. The aircraft has three main variants: the conventional takeoff and landing STOVL F-35A, the short takeoff and vertical landing STOVL F-35B, and the carrier variant CV catapult-assisted takeoff but arrested recovery catabar F-35C. The aircraft descends from the Lockheed Martin X-35, which in 2001 beat the Boeing X-32 to win the Joint Strike Fighter USAF program, intended to replace the F-16 Fighting Falcon, F-A-18 Hornet, and the McDonnell Douglas AV-8B Harrier to jump jet, among others. Its development is principally funded by the United States, with additional funding from program partner countries from the North Atlantic Treaty Organization NATO and close U.S. allies, including Australia, Canada, Denmark, Italy, the Netherlands, Norway, the United Kingdom, and formerly Turkey. 567 Several other countries have also ordered or are considering ordering the aircraft. The program has drawn criticism for its unprecedented size, complexity, ballooning costs, and delayed deliveries. 8-1. The acquisition strategy of concurrent production of the aircraft, while it was still in development and testing, led to expensive design changes and retrofits. 10-11. As of July 2024, the average flyaway costs per plane are $82.5 million United States dollars for the F-35A, $109 million for the F-35B, and $102.1 million for the F-35C. 12. The F-35 first flew in 2006 and entered service with the U.S. Marine Corps' F-35B in July 2015, followed by the U.S. Air Force F-35A in August 2016 and the U.S. Navy F-35C in February 2019. 3-4. The aircraft was first used in combat in 2018 by the Israeli Air Force. 13. The U.S. plans to buy 2,456 F-35s through 2044, which will represent the bulk of the crewed tactical aviation of the U.S. Air Force, Navy, and Marine Corps for several decades. The aircraft is planned to be a cornerstone of NATO and U.S. allied air power and to operate to 2070. 14-15-16. Development. Main article: Lockheed Martin F-35 Lightning to development. Program origins: the F-35 was the product of the Joint Strike Fighter USAF program, which was the merger of various combat aircraft programs from the 1980s and 1990s. One progenitor program was the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency DARPA Advanced Short Takeoff, Vertical Landing STOVL, which ran from 1983 to 1994. STOVL aimed to develop a Harrier jump jet replacement for the U.S. Marine Corps' USMC and the UK Royal Navy. Under one of STOVL's classified programs, the supersonic STOVL fighter SSF, Lockheed Skunk Works conducted research for a stealthy supersonic STOVL fighter intended for both U.S. Air Force USAF and USMC. Among key STOVL technologies explored was the shaft-driven lift-fin SDLF system. Lockheed's concept was a single-engine Canard Delta aircraft weighing about 24,000 pounds 11,000 kilograms empty. STOVL was rechristened as the Common Affordable Lightweight Fight (CALF) in 1993 and involved Lockheed, McDonnell Douglas, and Boeing. 17-18. The end of the Cold War and the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991 caused considerable reductions in Department of Defense spending and subsequent restructuring. In 1993, the Joint Advanced Strike Technology JAST program emerged following the cancellation of the USAF's multirole fighter MRF and U.S. Navy's ASN Advanced Attack Fighter FX programs. MRF, a program for a relatively affordable F-16 Fighting Falcon replacement, was scaled back and delayed due to post-Cold War defense posture, easing F-16 fleet usage and thus extending its service life, as well as increasing budget pressure from the Lockheed Martin F-22 Advanced Tactical Fighter ATF program. The FX, initially known as the Advanced Attack AX, began in 1991. As the USN's follow-on to the Advanced Tactical Aircraft ATA program for Grumman A-6 intruder replacement. The ATAS resulting McDonnell Douglas A-12 Avenger had been cancelled due to technical problems and cost overruns in 1991. In the same year, the termination of the Naval Advanced Tactical Fighter (ATF), a naval development of USAF's ATF program to replace the Grumman F-1 for Tomcat, resulted in additional fighter capability being added to AX, which was then renamed FX, amid increased budget pressure. DoD's bottom-up review in September 1993 announced MRF's and FX's cancellations, with applicable experience brought to the emerging JAST program. 18 JAST was not meant to develop a new aircraft, but rather to develop requirements, mature technologies, and demonstrate concepts for advanced strike warfare. 19. As JAST progressed, the need for concept demonstrator aircraft by 1996 emerged, which would coincide with the full-scale flight demonstrator phase of STOVL, CALF. Because the STOVL, CALF concept appeared to align with the JAST charter, the two programs were eventually merged in 1994 under the JAST name, with the program now serving the USAF, USMC, and USN. 19. JAST was subsequently renamed to Joint Strike Fighter JSF in 1995, with STOVL submissions by McDonnell Douglas, Northrop Grumman, Lockheed Martin, and 2N Boeing. The JSF was expected to eventually replace large numbers of multirole and strike fighters in the inventories of the US and its allies, including the Harrier, F-16, F, A-18, Fairchild A-10 Thunderbolt II, and Lockheed F-117 Nighthawk. 20. International participation is a key aspect of the JSF program, starting with United Kingdom participation in the STOVL program. Many international partners requiring modernization of their air forces were interested in the JSF. The United Kingdom joined JSF as a founding member in 1995 and thus became the only Tier 1 partner of the JSF program. 21. Italy, the Netherlands, Denmark, Norway, Canada, Australia, and Turkey joined the program during the concept demonstration phase CDP, with Italy and the Netherlands being Tier 2 partners and the rest Tier 3. Consequently, the aircraft was developed in cooperation with international partners and available for export. 22. JSF competition. Main articles: Joint Strike Fighter Program and Lockheed Martin X-35. Boeing and Lockheed Martin were selected in early 1997 for CDP, with their concept demonstrator aircraft designated X-32 and X-35 respectively. The McDonnell Douglas team was eliminated and Northrop Grumman and British Aerospace joined the Lockheed Martin team. Each firm would produce 2 prototype air vehicles to demonstrate conventional takeoff and landing (CTOL), carrier takeoff and landing (CV), and STOVL. And 3 Lockheed Martin's design would make use of the work on the SDLF system conducted under the STOVL CALF program. The key aspect of the X-35 that enabled STOVL operation. The SDLF system consists of the lift fan in the forward center fuselage that could be activated by engaging a clutch that connects the drive shaft to the turbines and thus augmenting the thrust from the engine's swivel nozzle. Research from prior aircraft incorporating similar systems, such as the Convair Model 200, and for Rockwell XFV-12 and Yakovlev Yak-141, were also taken into consideration. 20 for 25-26. By contrast, Boeing's X-32 employed direct lift system that the augmented turbofan would be reconfigured to when engaging in STOVL operation. X-35B flying over Edwards Air Force Base. Lockheed Martin's commonality strategy was to replace the STOVL variant's SDLF with a fuel tank and the aft swivel nozzle with a 2-dimensional thrust vectoring nozzle for the CTOL variant. And 5 STOVL operation is made possible through a patented shaft-driven lift fan propulsion system. 27. This would enable identical aerodynamic configuration for the STOVL and CTOL variants, while the CV variant would have an enlarged wing to reduce landing speed for carrier recovery. Due to aerodynamic characteristics and carrier recovery requirements from the JAST merger, the design configuration settled on a conventional tail compared to the canard delta design from the STOVL CALF. Notably, the conventional tail configuration offers much lower risk for carrier recovery compared to the STOVL CALF canard configuration, which was designed without carrier compatibility in mind. This enabled greater commonality between all 3 variants, as the commonality goal was important at this design stage. 28. Lockheed Martin's prototypes would consist of the X-35A for demonstrating STOVL before converting it to the X-35B for STOVL demonstration and the larger wing X-35C for CV compatibility demonstration. 29. The X-35A first flew on the 24th of October 2000 and conducted flight tests for subsonic and supersonic flying qualities, handling, range, and maneuver performance. 30. After 28 flights, the aircraft was then converted into the X-35B for STOVL testing, with key changes including the addition of the SDLF, the 3-bearing swivel module 3BSM, and roll control ducts. The X-35B would successfully demonstrate the SDLF system by performing stable hover, vertical landing, and short takeoff in less than 500 feet 150 meters, 2831. The X-35C first flew on the 16th of December 2000 and conducted field landing carrier practice tests. 30. On the 26th of October 2001, Lockheed Martin was declared the winner and was awarded the System Development and Demonstration (SDD) contract. Pratt & Whitney was separately awarded a development contract for the F-135 engine for the USAF. 32. The F-35 designation, which was out of sequence with standard DOD numbering, was allegedly determined on the spot by Program Manager Major General Mike Hawk. This came as a surprise even to Lockheed Martin, which had expected the F-20 for designation for the USAF. 33. Design and production. Engineer handling a metallic scale model of jet fighter in wind tunnel, an F-35 wind tunnel testing model in 16-foot 5 meters transonic wind tunnel at the Arnold Engineering Development Center. As the USAF program moved into the system development and demonstration phase, the X-35 demonstrator design was modified to create the F-35 combat aircraft. The forward fuselage was lengthened by 5 inches 13 centimeters to make room for mission avionics, while the horizontal stabilizers were moved 2 inches 5.1 centimeters aft to retain balance and control. The diverterless supersonic inlet changed from a 4-sided to a 3-sided cowl shade and was moved 30 inches 76 centimeters aft. The fuselage section was fuller, the top surface raised by 1 inch to 0.5 centimeters along the centerline, and the lower surface bulged to accommodate weapons base. Following the designation of the X-35 prototypes, the 3 variants were designated F-35A, STOVL, F-35B STOVL, and F-35C CV, all with a design service life of 8,000 hours. Prime contractor Lockheed Martin performs overall systems integration and final assembly and checkout FACO at Air Force Plant for in Fort Worth, Texas, and 6, while Northrop Grumman and BAE Systems supply components for mission systems and airframe. 30 for 35. Adding the systems of a fight, the F-35B gained the most, largely due to a 2003 decision to enlarge the weapons base for commonality between variants. The total weight growth was reportedly up to 2,200 pounds 1,000 kilograms, over 8%, causing all STOVL key performance parameter KPP thresholds to be missed. 36. In December 2003, the STOVL Weight Attack Team SWAT was formed to reduce the weight increase. Changes included thin airframe members, smaller weapons bays and vertical stabilizers, less thrust fed to the roll post outlets, and redesigning the wingmate joint, electrical elements, and the airframe immediately aft of the cockpit. The inlet was also revised to accommodate more powerful, greater mass flow engines. 37-38. Many changes from the SWAT effort were applied to all 3 variants for commonality. By September 2004, these efforts have reduced the F-35B's weight by over 3,000 pounds 1,400 kilograms, while the F-35A and F-35C were reduced in weight by 2,400 pounds 1,100 kilograms and 1,900 pounds 800, respectively. 28-39. The weight reduction work cost $6.2 billion and caused an 18-month delay. 40. The first F-35A prototype, A1, being towed to its inauguration ceremony on the 7th of July 2006. The first F-35A, designated A1, was rolled out at Fort Worth on the 19th of February 2006 and first flew on the 15th of December 2006 with Chief Test Pilot John S. Beasley at the controls, and 741. In 2006, the F-35 was given the name Lightning II after the Lockheed P-38 Lightning of World War II. 42. Some USAF pilots have nicknamed the aircraft Panther instead, and other nicknames include Fat Amy and Battle Penguin. 4340 for 45. The aircraft's software was developed as 6 releases, or blocks, for SDD. To blocks 1A and 1B readied the F-35 for initial pilot training and multi-level security. Block 2A improved the training capabilities, while 2B was the first combat-ready release planned for the USMC's initial operating capability (OC). Block 3I retains the capabilities of 2B while having new technology refreshed to TR2 hardware and was planned for the USAF's IOC. The final release for SDD, Block 3F, would have full flight envelope and all baseline combat capabilities. Alongside software releases, each block also incorporates avionics hardware updates and air vehicle improvements from flight and structural testing. 46. In what is known as concurrency, some low-rate initial production LRIP aircraft lots would be delivered in early block configurations and eventually upgraded to Block 3F once development is complete. 47. After 17,000 flight test hours, the final flight for the STD phase was completed in April 2018. 48. Like the F-22, the F-35 has been targeted by cyberattacks and technology theft efforts, as well as potential vulnerabilities in the integrity of the supply chain. 49. 50-51. The first F-35 Sea Flight Sciences aircraft, CF-01, conducts a test flight over Chesapeake Bay in February 2011. Testing found several major problems. Early F-35B airframes were vulnerable to premature cracking, and the F-35C arrestor hook design was unreliable. Fuel tanks were too vulnerable to lightning strikes, the helmet display had problems, and more. Software was repeatedly delayed due to its unprecedented scope and complexity. In 2009, the DoD Joint Estimate Team Jet estimated that the program was 30 months behind the public schedule. 50 to 53. In 2011, the program was re-baselined. That is, its cost and schedule goals were changed, pushing the IOC from the planned 2010 to July 2015. 50 for 55. The decision to simultaneously test, fix defects, and begin production was criticized as inefficient. In 2014, Undersecretary of Defense for Acquisition Frank Kendall called it acquisition malpractice. 56. The 3 variants shared just 25% of their parts, far below the anticipated commonality of 70%. 57. The program received considerable criticism for cost overruns and for the total projected lifetime cost, as well as quality management shortcomings by contractors. 58-59. As of August 2023, the program was 80% over budget and 10 years late. 60. The JSF program was expected to cost about $200 billion for acquisition in base year 2002 dollars when SDD was awarded in 2001. 61-62. As early as 2005, the Government Accountability Office GAO had identified major program risks in cost and schedule. 63. The costly delays strained the relationship between the Pentagon and contractors. 64. By 2017, delays and cost overruns had pushed the F-35 program's expected acquisition costs to $406.5 billion, with total lifetime cost i.e. to 2070 to $1.5 trillion in then-year dollars, which also includes operations and maintenance. 65. The F-35AS unit cost, not including engine for LRIP Lot 13, was $79.2 million in base year 2012 dollars. 68. Delays in development and operational tests and evaluation, including integration into the joint simulation environment, pushed full-rate production decision from the end of 2019 to March 2024, although actual production rate had already approached the full rate by 2020. The combined full rate at the Fort Worth, Italy, and Japan FACO plants is 156 aircraft annually. Upgrades and further development. Sailors prepare to taxi an F-35C Lightning II on aircraft carrier USS Carl Vinson. The F-35 is expected to be continually upgraded over its lifetime. The first combat-capable Block 2B configuration, which had basic air-to-air and strike capabilities, was declared ready by the USMC in July 2015. 2. The Block 3F configuration began operational tests and evaluation in December 2018, and its completion in late 2023 concluded SDD in March 2024. 71. The F-35 program is also conducting sustainment and upgrade development, with early aircraft from LRIP Lot 2 onwards gradually upgraded to the baseline Block 3F standard by 2021. 72 needs update. With Block 3F as the final build for SDD, the first major upgrade program is Block 4, which began development in 2019 and was initially captured under the Continuous Capability Development and Delivery C-to-D2 program. Block 4 is expected to enter service in incremental steps from the late 2020s to early 2030s and integrates additional weapons, including those unique to international customers, improved sensor capabilities including the new APG-85 ESA radar and additional ESM bandwidth, and adds remotely operated video enhanced receiver rover support. 7370 for C-to-D2 also places greater emphasis on agile software development to enable quicker releases. 75. The key enabler of Block 4 is technology refresh 3TR3 avionics hardware, which consists of new display, core processor, and memory modules to support increased processing requirements, as well as engine upgrade that increases the amount of cooling available to support the additional mission systems. The engine upgrade effort explored both improvements to the F-135 as well as significantly more power and efficient adaptive cycle engines. In 2018, General Electric and Pratt & Whitney were awarded contracts to develop adaptive cycle engines for potential application in the F-35 and in 2022, the F-35 Adaptive Engine Replacement Program was launched to integrate them. 7677. However, in 2023 the USAF chose an improved F-135 under the Engine Core Upgrade ACU program over an adaptive cycle engine due to cost as well as concerns over risk of integrating the new engine. Initially designed for the F-35A on the BN-C-78, difficulties with the new TR-3 hardware, including regression testing, have caused delays to Block 4 as well as a halt in aircraft deliveries from July 2023 to July 2024. 7980. Defense contractors have offered upgrades to the F-35 outside of official program contracts. In 2013, Northrop Grumman disclosed its development of a directional infrared countermeasures suite, named Threat Nullification Defensive Resource DHNDR. The countermeasure system would share the same space as the Distributed Aperture System DAS sensors and acts as a laser missile jammer to protect against infrared homing missiles. 81. Israel operates a unique subvariant of the F-35A, designated the F-35I, that is designed to better interface with and incorporate Israeli equipment and weapons. The Israeli Air Force also has their own F-35I test aircraft that provides more access to the core avionics to include their own equipment. 82. Procurement and international participation. Main article, Lockheed Martin F-35 likely to procurement. The United States is the primary customer and financial backer, with planned procurement of 1,763 F-35AS for the USAF, 353 F-35DS, and 67 F-35Cs for the USMC, and 273 F-35Cs for the USN. 14. Additionally, the United Kingdom, Italy, the Netherlands, Turkey, Australia, Norway, Denmark and Canada have agreed to contribute $4.375 billion United States towards development costs, with the United Kingdom contributing about 10% of the planned development costs as the sole Tier 1 partner. 21. Britain supplies ejector seats, rear fuselage, active interceptor systems, targeting lasers and weapon release cables, mainly through British Aerospace, amounting to 15% of the value of the F-35, and is the largest supplier of spare parts for the jet after the U.S. 83. The initial plan was that the U.S. and 8 major partner countries would acquire over 3,100 F-35s through 2035. 84. The 3 tiers of international participation generally reflect financial stake in the program, the amount of technology transfer and subcontracts open for bid by national companies, and the order in which countries can obtain production aircraft. 85. Alongside program partner countries, Israel and Singapore have joined as security cooperative participants. SCP 86, 87, 88 sales to SCP in states, including Belgium, Japan, and South Korea, are made through the Pentagon's Foreign Military Sales Program. 789 Turkey was removed from the F-35 program in July 2019 over security concerns following its purchase of a Russian S-400 surface-to-air missile system. 1991 and 10 as of July 2024. The average flyaway costs per plane are $82.5 million for the F-35A, $109 million for the F-35B, and $102.1 million for the F-35C. 12. Design. The F-35 is a family of single-engine, supersonic, stealth multirole strike fighters. 93. The second fifth-generation fighter to enter U.S. service and the first operational supersonic STOVL stealth fighter. The F-35 emphasizes low observables, advanced avionics and sensor fusion that enable a high level of situational awareness and long-range lethality. 90 for 95-96 The USAF considers the aircraft its primary strike fighter for conducting suppression of enemy air defense and air interdiction missions, owing to the advanced sensors and mission systems. 97. The F-35 has a wingtail configuration with two vertical stabilizers canted for stealth. Flight control surfaces include leading-edge flaps, flaperones, and 11 rudders, and all moving horizontal tail stabilators. Leading-edge root extensions, or chines 98, also run forwards to the inlets. The relatively short 35-foot wingspan of the F-35A and F-35B, set by the requirement to fit inside U.S. and amphibious assault ship parking areas and elevators. The F-35C's larger wing is more fuel-efficient, 99-100. To fix diverterless supersonic inlets, DSI use a bump compression surface and forward-swept hull to shed the boundary layer of the forebody away from the inlets, which form a wide duct for the engine. 101. Structurally, the F-35 drew upon lessons from the F-22. Composites comprise 35% of airframe weight, with the majority being bismalami and composite epoxy materials, as well as some carbon nanotube reinforced epoxy in later production lots. 100 to 103. 104. The F-35 is considerably heavier than a lightweight fighters it replaces, with the lightest variant having an empty weight of 29,300 pounds 13,300 kilograms. Much of the weight can be attributed to the internal weapons base and the extensive avionics carried. 105. While lacking the kinematic performance of the larger twin-engine F-22, the F-35 is competitive with fourth-generation fighters such as the F-16 and F-18, especially when they carry weapons because the F-35's internal weapons bay eliminates drag from external stores. 106. All variants have a top speed of Mach 1.6, 1,220 miles per hour, 1,960 kilometers per hour, attainable with full internal payload. The Pratt & Whitney F-135 engine gives good subsonic acceleration and energy, with supersonic dash in afterburner. The F-35, while not a supercruising aircraft, can fly at Mach 1.2 913 miles per hour. 1,470 kilometers per hour for a dash of 150 miles 240 kilometers with afterburners. This ability can be useful in battlefield situations. 107. The large stabilators, leading-edge extensions and flaps, and canted rudders provide excellent high alpha angle of attack characteristics with a trim alpha 50. Relaxed stability and triplex redundant fly-by-wire controls provide excellent handling qualities and departure resistance. 108. 109. Having over double the F-16's internal fuel, the F-35 has a considerably greater combat radius, while stealth also enables more efficient mission flight profile. 110. The AQ for electro-optical target system meets under the nose of an F-35A. The F-35's mission systems are among the most complex aspects of the aircraft. Key sensors include the Northrop Grumman and APG-81 active electronically scanned array AESA radar, base systems and ASQ-239 Barracuda electronic warfare system, Northrop Grumman, Raytheon and AAQ-37 electro-optical distributed aperture system DAS, Lockheed Martin and AAQ-40 electro-optical targeting system EITS and Northrop Grumman and ASQ-24 communications, navigation, and identification CNI suite. The F-35 was designed for its sensors to work together to provide a cohesive image of the local battle space. For example, the APG-81 radar also acts as a part of the electronic warfare system. 112. Much of the F-35 software was developed in C and C++ programming languages, while Ada-83 code from the F-22 was also used. The Block 3F software has 8.6 million lines of code. 114. The Green Hills Software Integrity D178B real-time operating system RTOS runs on integrated core processors ICPS. Data networking includes the IEEE E139 for B and fiber channel buses. 116. The avionics use commercial off-the-shelf COTS components when practical to make upgrades cheaper and more flexible. For example, to enable fleet software upgrades for the software-defined radio SDR systems. 117. 119. The mission system software, particularly for sensor fusion, was one of the program's most difficult parts and responsible for substantial program delays. And 122. The APG-81 radar uses electronic scanning for rapid beam agility and incorporates passive and active air-to-air modes, strike modes, and synthetic aperture radar SAR capability, with multiple target track while scan at ranges in excess of 80 and 150 kilometers. The antenna is tilted backwards for stealth. 123. Complementing the radar is the AQ-37 DAS, which consists of 6 infrared sensors that provide all-aspect missile launch warning and target tracking. The DAS acts as a situational awareness infrared search and track source and gives the pilot spherical infrared and night vision imagery on the helmet visor. The ASQ-39 Barracuda electronic warfare system has 10 radio frequency antennas embedded into the edges of the wing and tail for all-aspect radar warning receiver (RWR). It also provides sensor fusion of radio frequency and infrared tracking functions, geolocation threat targeting, and multispectral image countermeasures for self-defense against missiles. The electronic warfare system can detect and jam hostile radars. 125. The AAQ-4OE is mounted behind a faceted low observable window under the nose and performs laser targeting, forward-looking infrared FLIR, and long-range IRST functions. 126. The ASQ-4CN suite uses a half-dozen physical links, including the Directional Multifunction Advanced Data Link MADL, for covert CNI functions. 127. Through sensor fusion, information from radio frequency receivers and infrared sensors are combined to form a single tactical picture for the pilot. The all-aspect target direction and identification can be shared via MADL to other platforms without compromising low observability, while Link 16 enables communication with older systems. 129. The F-35 was designed to accept upgrades to its processors, sensors, and software over its lifespan. Technology Refresh 3, which includes a new core processor and a new cockpit display, is planned for LOF-15 aircraft. 130. Lockheed Martin has offered the advanced TIATs for the block for configuration. The improved sensor fits into the same area as the baseline TIATs with minimal changes. 131. In June 2018, Lockheed Martin picked Raytheon for improved DAS. 132. The USAF has studied the potential for the F-35 to orchestrate attacks by unmanned combat aerial vehicles, UCAV spy sensors and communications equipment. 133. A new radar called the APG-85 is planned for block for F-35s. 134. According to the JPO, the new radar will be compatible with all 3 major F-35 variants. However, it is unclear if older aircraft will be retrofitted with the new radar. 134. Stealth and signatures. The sawtooth design on the landing gear door and access panels. Stealth is a key aspect of the F-35's design, and radar cross-section, or CS, is minimized through careful shaping of the airframe and the use of radar-absorbent materials RAM. Visible measures to reduce RCS include alignment of edges and continuous curvature of surfaces, serration of skin panels, and the masking of the engine face and turbine. Additionally, the F-35's diverterless supersonic inlet DS uses a compression bump and forward swept cowl rather than a splitter gap or bleed system to divert the boundary layer away from the inlet duct, eliminating the diverter cavity and further reducing radar signature. 100. 135. The RCS of the F-35 has been characterized as lower than a metal golf ball at certain frequencies and angles. In some conditions, the F-35 compares favorably to the F-22 in stealth. 136, 137, 138. For maintainability, the F-35's stealth design took lessons from earlier stealth aircraft such as the F-22. The F-35's radar-absorbent fiber matte skin is more durable and requires less maintenance than older topcoats. 139. The aircraft also has reduced infrared and visual signatures, as well as strict controls of radio frequency emitters to prevent their detection. 140, 141, 142. The F-35's stealth design is primarily focused on high-frequency X-band wavelengths. 143. Low-frequency radars can spot stealthy aircraft due to Rayleigh scattering, but such radars are also conspicuous, susceptible to clutter, and lack precision. 140. For 145, 146. To disguise its RCS, the aircraft can mount for Lüneburg lens reflectors. 147. Noise from the F-35 caused concerns in residential areas near potential bases for the aircraft, and residents near to such bases Luke Air Force Base, Arizona, and Eglin Air Force Base AFB, Florida requested environmental impact studies in 2008 and 2009 respectively. 148. Although the noise levels, in decibels, were comparable to those of prior fighters such as the F-16, the F-35's sound power is stronger particularly at lower frequencies. 149. Subsequent surveys and studies have indicated that the nose of the F-35 was not perceptibly different from the F-16 and F/A-18E. Though the greater low-frequency nose was noticeable for some observers. 150, 151, 152. Cockpit, F-35 Cockpit Simulator. The glass cockpit was designed to give the pilot good situational awareness. The main display is a 20 by 8 inch 50 by 20 centimeters panoramic touchscreen, which shows flight instruments, stores management, CNI information, and integrated caution and warnings. The pilot can customize the arrangement of the information. Below the main display is a smaller standby display. 153. The cockpit has a speech recognition system developed by Adasol. 154. The F-35 does not have a head-up display. Instead, flight and combat information is displayed on the visor of the pilot's helmet in a helmet-mounted display system HMDS. 155. The one-piece tinted canopy is hinged at the front and has an internal frame for structural strength. The Martin Baker US-16E ejection seat is launched by a twin catapult system housed on side rails. 156. There is a right-hand side stick and throttle hands-on throttle and stick system. For life support, an onboard oxygen generation system OBOGS is fitted and powered by the Integrated Power Package IPP, with an auxiliary oxygen bottle and backup oxygen system for emergencies. 157. The F-35's helmet-mounted display system. The Vision Systems International N13 helmet display is a key piece of the F-35's human-machine interface. Instead of the head-up display mounted atop the dashboard of earlier fighters, the HMDS puts flight and combat information on the helmet visor, allowing the pilot to see it no matter which way they are facing. 158. Infrared and night vision imagery from the distributed aperture system can be displayed directly on the HMDS and enables a pilot to see through the aircraft. The HMDS allows an F-35 pilot to fire missiles at targets even when the nose of the aircraft is pointing elsewhere by cueing missile seekers at high angles off boresight. 159. 160. Each helmet costs $400,000. 161. The HMDS weighs more than traditional helmets, and there is concern that it can endanger lightweight pilots during ejection. 162. Due to the HMDS's vibration, jitter, night vision, and sensor display problems during development, Lockheed Martin and Elbit issued a draft specification in 2011 for an alternative HMDS based on the AVS-9 night vision goggles as backup, with BAE Systems chosen later that year. 163. 164. A cockpit redesign would be needed to adopt an alternative HMDS. 165. 166. Following progress on the baseline helmet, development on the alternative HMDS was halted in October 2013. 167-168. In 2016, the Gen 3 helmet with improved night vision camera, new liquid crystal displays, automated alignment, and software enhancements was introduced with LRIP Lot 7. 167. Armament. F-35A with all weapon bay doors open. To preserve its stealth shaping, the F-35 has two internal weapons bays, each with two weapon stations. The two outboard weapon stations each can carry ordnance up to 2,500 pounds 1,100 kilograms, or 1,500 pounds 680 kilograms for the F-35B, while the two inboard stations carry air-to-air missiles. Air-to-surface weapons for the outboard station include the Joint Direct Attack Munition JDAM, Paveway series of bombs, Joint Standoff Weapon JSOW, and Cluster Munitions Wine-Corrected Munitions Dispenser. The station can also carry multiple smaller munitions such as the GBU-39 Small Diameter Bombs SDB, GBU-53, B Stormbreaker, and Spear 3. Up to 4 SDBs can be carried per station for the F-35A and F-35C, and 3 for the F-35B. 169-107. The F-35A achieved certification to carry the B-61 Mod 12 nuclear bomb in October 2023. The inboard station can carry the AIM-120M RON, and eventually the AIM-260JATM. Two compartments behind the weapons bays contain flares, chaff, and towed decoys. 173. An F-35A from the 4th Fighter Squadron, 388th Fighter Wing, Hill AFB, Utah, flies a strafing run at the Utah Test and Training Range. This was the first operation use of the GAU-22 of the F-35A aircraft. The aircraft can use 6 external weapon stations for missions that do not require stealth. 174. The wingtip pylons each can carry an AIM-9X or AIM-132 as RON, and are canted outwards to reduce their radar cross-section. 175-176. Additionally, each wing has a 5,000 pounds 2,300 kilograms inboard station and a 2,500 pounds 1,100 kilograms middle station, or 1,500 pounds 680 kilograms for F-35B. The external wing stations can carry large air-to-surface weapons that would not fit inside the weapons bay, such as the AGM-158 Joint Air-to-Surface Standoff Missile JASSM or AGM-158CL. An air-to-air missile load of 8 AIM-120s and 2 AIM-9 South is possible using internal and external weapon stations. A configuration of 6 2,000 pounds 910 kilograms bombs, 2 AIM-120s and 2 AIM-9 South can also be arranged. 159-177-178. The F-35 is armed with a 25mm GAU-22, a rotary cannon, a lighter 4-barrel variant of the GAU-12, U-equalizer. 179. On the F-35A, this is mounted internally near the left wing root with 182 rounds carried. Citation needed. The gun is more effective against ground targets than the 20mm gun carried by other USAF fighters. Dubious. Discuss citation needed. In 2020, a USAF report noted unacceptable accuracy problems with the GAU-22 on the F-35A. These were due to misalignments in the gun's mount, which was also susceptible to cracking. 180. These problems were resolved by 2024. 181. The F-35B and F-35C have no internal gun and instead can use a TERMA-S multi-mission pod MMP carrying the GAU-22 and 220 rounds. The pod is mounted on the centerline of the aircraft and shaped to reduce its radar cross-section. 179-180. To verification needed. In lieu of the gun, the pod can also be used for different equipment and purposes, such as electronic warfare, aerial reconnaissance, or rear-facing tactical radar. 183-180. For the pod was not susceptible to the accuracy issues that once plagued the gun on the F-35A variant. 180, though, was apparently not problem-free. 181. Lockheed Martin is developing a weapon rack called Sidekick that would enable the internal outboard station to carry 2 AIM-120s, thus increasing the internal air-to-air payload to 6 missiles, currently offered for Block 4. 185-186. Block 4 will also have a rearranged hydraulic line and bracket to allow the F-35B to carry 4 SDBs per internal outboard station. Integration of the MBDA Meteor is also planned. 187-188. The USAF and USN are planning to integrate the AGM internally in the F-35A and F-35C. 189. Norway and Australia are funding an adaptation of the Naval Strike Missile NSM for the F-35. Designated Joint Strike Missile JSM to missiles can be carried internally with an additional for externally. 190. Both hypersonic missiles and direct energy weapons such as solid-state laser are currently being considered as future upgrades. In 2024, Lockheed Martin disclosed its proposed Mako hypersonic missile, which can be carried internally in the F-35ANC and externally on the B-191 and 14-195. Additionally, Lockheed Martin is studying integrating a fiber laser that uses spectral beam combining multiple individual laser modules into a single high-power beam, which can be scaled to various levels. 196. Maintenance and logistics. The F-35 is designed to require less maintenance than prior stealth aircraft. Some 95% of all field-replaceable parts are 1D. That is, nothing else needs to be removed to reach the desired part. For instance, the ejection seat can be replaced without removing the canopy. The F-35 has a fiber mat radar-absorbent material RAM baked into the skin, which is more durable, easier to work with, and faster to cure than older RAM coatings. Similar coatings are being considered for application on older stealth aircraft such as the F-22. 139. 219-220. Skin corrosion on the F-22 led to the F-35 using a less galvanic corrosion-inducing skin gap filler, fewer gaps in the airframe skin needing filler, and better drainage. 221. The flight control system uses electro-hydrostatic actuators rather than traditional hydraulic systems. These controls can be powered by lithium-ion batteries in case of emergency. 220-223. Commonality between variants led to the USMC's first aircraft maintenance field training detachment, which applied USAF lessons to their F-35 operations. 224. The F-35 was initially supported by a computerized maintenance management system named Autonomic Logistics Information System (ALIS). In concept, any F-35 can be serviced at any maintenance facility and all parts can be globally tracked and shared as needed. 225. Due to numerous problems. 226, such as unreliable diagnoses, excessive connectivity requirements, and security vulnerabilities, ALIS is being replaced by the cloud-based Operational Data Integrated Network Odin. 227. 228. 229. From September 2020, Odin base kits OBKS 230 were running ALIS software, as well as Odin software, first at Marine Corps Air Station MCAS, Yuma, Arizona, then at Naval Air Station Lemoore, California, in support of Strike Fighter Squadron VFA 125 on the 16th of July 2021, and then Nellis Air Force Base, Nevada, in support of the 422nd Test and Evaluation Squadron TS on the 6th. In 2022, over a dozen more OBK sites will replace the ALIS's standard operating unit on classified SOEU servers. 231. Op performance is double that of ALIS. 230 to 231. 230. The first F-35A, A1, conducted its engine run in September 2006 and first flew on the 15th of December 2006. 233. Unlike all subsequent aircraft, A1 did not have the weight optimization from SWAT. Consequently, it mainly tested subsystems common to subsequent aircraft, such as the propulsion, electrical system, and cockpit displays. This aircraft was retired from flight testing in December 2009 and was used for live-fire testing at NAS China Lake. 234. The first F-35B, BF-1, flew on the 11th of June 2008, while the first weight-optimized F-35A and F-35C, AF-1 and CF-1, flew on the 14th of November 2009 and the 6th of June 2010 respectively. The F-35B's first hover was on the 17th of March 2010, followed by its first vertical landing the next day. 235. The F-35 Integrated Test Force consisted of 18 aircraft at Edwards Air Force Base and Naval Air Station Patuxent River, 9 aircraft at Edwards, 5 F-35AS, 3 F-35BS, and 1 F-35C, performed flight sciences testing such as F-35A envelope expansion, flight loads, store separation, as well as mission systems testing. The other 9 aircraft at Patuxent River, 5 F-35Bs and 4 F-35Cs, were responsible for F-35B and C envelope expansion and STOVL and CV suitability testing. Additional carrier suitability testing was conducted at Naval Air Warfare Center Aircraft Division at Lakehurst, New Jersey. 2 non-flying aircraft of each variant were used to test static loads and fatigue. 236. For testing avionics and mission systems, a modified Boeing 737-300 with a duplication of the cockpit. The Lockheed Martin Catbird has been used. 186 field testing of the F-35 sensors were conducted during Exercise Northern Edge 2009 and 2011, serving as significant risk reduction steps. 237-238. Flight tests revealed several serious deficiencies that required costly redesigns, caused delays, and resulted in several fleet-wide groundings. In 2011, the F-35C failed to catch the arresting wire in all 8 landing tests. A redesigned tailhook was delivered 2 years later, 239-240 by June 2009. Many of the initial flight test targets had been accomplished, but the program was behind schedule. 241 software and mission systems were among the biggest sources of delays for the program, with sensor fusion proving especially challenging. 122. In fatigue testing, the F-35B suffered several premature cracks, requiring a redesign of the structure. 240 to a third non-flying F-35B is currently planned to test the redesigned structure. The F-35B and C also had problems, with the horizontal tail suffering heat damage from prolonged afterburner use, and 15-245-246. Early flight control loss had problems with wind drop in 16, and also made the airplane sluggish, with high angles of attack tests in 2015 against an F-16 shown a lack of energy. 247-248. At-sea testing of the F-35B was first conducted aboard USS Wasp. In October 2011, 2 F-35Bs conducted 3 weeks of initial sea trials, called Development Test, by 249. The second F-35B sea trials, Development Test 2, began in August 2013, with tests including nighttime operations. 2 aircraft completed 19 nighttime vertical landings using DAS imagery. 250-251. The first operational testing involving 6 F-35Bs was done on the Wasp in May 2015. The final development test 3 on USS America involving operations in high sea states was completed in late 2016. 252. A Royal Navy F-35 conducted the first rolling landing on board HMS Queen Elizabeth in October 2018. 253. USN F-35C makes the aircraft's first arrested landing aboard the carrier USS Nimitz off the coast of San Diego. After the redesigned tailhook arrived, the F-35C's carrier-based development test 1 began in November 2014 aboard USS Nimitz and focused on basic day carrier operations and establishing launch and recovery handling procedures. 250 for Development Test 2, which focused on night operations, weapons loading, and full power launches, took place in October 2015. The final Development Test 3 was completed in August 2016 and included tests of asymmetric loads and certifying systems for landing qualifications and interoperability. 255 operational test of the F-35C was conducted in 2018, and the first operational squadron achieved safe for-flight milestone that December, paving the way for its introduction in 2019 for 256. The F-35's reliability and availability have fallen short of requirements, especially in the early years of testing. The Alice maintenance and logistics system was plagued by excessive connectivity requirements and faulty diagnoses. In late 2017, DeGauw reported the time needed to repair an F-35 part averaged 172 days, which was twice the program's objective, and that shortage of spare parts was degrading readiness. 257. In 2019, while individual F-35 units have achieved mission-capable rates of over the target of 80% for short periods during deploy operations, fleet-wide rates remain below target. The fleet availability goal of 65% was also not met, although the trend shows improvement. Internal gun accuracy of the F-35A was unacceptable until misalignment issues were addressed by 2024. 245-258 as of 2020. The number of the program's most serious issues have been decreased by half, 259-181. Operational test and evaluation OT&E with Block 3F, the final configuration for SDD, began in December 2018, but its completion was delayed particularly by technical problems in integration with the DoD's Joint Simulation Environment JSE. 260 The F-35 finally completed all JSE trials in September 2023. 70. The first F-35C Lightning to sortie takes off from VFA-1 at Eglin Air Force Base. The F-35A and F-35B were cleared for basic flight training in early 2012, although there were concerns over safety and performance due to lack of system maturity at the time. 261-260-263 during the low-rate initial production (LRIP) phase. The three U.S. military services jointly developed tactics and procedures using flight simulators, testing effectiveness, discovering problems, and refining design. On the 10th of September 2012, the USAF began an operational utility evaluation of the F-35A, including logistical support, maintenance, personnel training, and pilot execution. 260-265. A pair of F-35Cs and F/A-180 Fs fly over NAS Fallon, home of TOPGUN, in September 2015. The USMC F-35B Fleet Replacement Squadron (FRS) was initially based at Eglin AFB in 2012 alongside USAF F-35A training units, before moving to MCAS Beaufort in 2014, while another FRS was stood up at MCAS Miramar in 2020. 266-267. The USAF F-35A Basic Course is held at Eglin AFB and Luke AFD. In January 2013, training began at Eglin with capacity for 100 pilots and 2,100 maintainers at once. 268. Additionally, the 6th Weapons Squadron of the USAF Weapons School was activated at Nellis FB in June 2017 for F-35A weapons instructor curriculum, while the 65th Aggressor Squadron was reactivated with the F-35A in June 2020 to expand training against adversary stealth aircraft tactics. 269. The USN stood up its F-35 CFRS in 2012 with VFA-101 at Eglin AFB, but operations would later be transferred and consolidated under VFA-1-5 at NAS Lemoore in 2019. 270. The F-35C was introduced to the Strike Fighter Tactics Instructor Course, or TOPGUN, in 2020, and the additional capabilities of the aircraft greatly revamped the core syllabus. 271. U.S. Marine Corps. On the 16th of November 2012, the USMC received the first F-35B of VMFA-1-1 at MCAS Yuma. 272. The USMC declared initial operational capability (OC) for the F-35B in the Block to be configuration on the 31st of July 2015, after operational trials, with some limitations in night operations, mission systems, and weapons carriage. To 273 USMC F-35Bs participated in their first Red Flag exercise in July 2016 with 67 sorties conducted. 274. The first F-35B deployment occurred in 2017 at MCAS Iwakuni, Japan. Combat employment began in July 2018 from the amphibious assault ship USS Essex, with the first combat strike on the 27th of September 2018 against a Taliban target in Afghanistan. 275. In addition to deploying F-35Bs on amphibious assault ships, the USMC plans to disperse the aircraft among austere forward deployed bases with shelter and concealment to enhance survivability, or remaining close to a battle space. Known as Distributed STOVL Operations (DSO), F-35Bs would operate from temporary bases in Allied territory within hostile missile engagement zones and displace inside the enemy's 24 to 48-hour targeting cycle. This strategy allows F-35Bs to rapidly respond to operational needs, with mobile forward arming and refueling points MFA/RPS accommodating KC-130 and MV-2 Osprey aircraft to rearm. and refuel the jets, as well as littoral areas for sea links at mobile distribution sites. For higher echelons of maintenance, F-35Bs would return from MFARPs to rear area-friendly bases or ships. Helicopter portable metal planking is needed to protect unprepared roads from the F-35B's exhaust. The USMC are studying lighter heat-resistant options, 276. These operations have become part of the larger USMC Expeditionary Advanced Space Operations EBO concept. 277. The first USMC F-35C Squadron, VMFA-314, achieved full operational capability in July 2021 and was first deployed on board USS Abraham Lincoln as a part of Carrier Air Wing 9 in January 2022. 278. In 2024, Lt. Gen. Sami Sadat of Afghanistan described an operation using F-35Bs from USS Essex, which bombed a Taliban position through cloud cover. The impact the F-35 left on my soldiers was amazing. Like, whoa, you know, we have this technology, Sadat said. But also the impact on the Taliban was quite crippling, because they have never seen Afghan forces move in the winter, and they have never seen planes that could bomb through the clouds. 279. On the 9th of November 2024, Marine F-35Cs carried out strikes on the Houthi movement in Yemen in the context of the Red Sea crisis, making it the first time the F-35C has been used in combat. 280. U.S. Air Force, USAF F-35A in the Block 3I configuration achieved IOC with the USAF's 34th Fighter Squadron at Hill Air Force Base, Utah on the 2nd of August 2016. 3. F-35As conducted their first red flag exercise in 2017. System maturity had improved and the aircraft scored a kill ratio of 15-1 against an F-16 aggressor squadron in a high-threat environment. 281. The first USAF F-35A deployment occurred on the 15th of April 2019 to Al Dhafra Air Base, UAE. 282. On the 27th of April 2019, USAF F-35As were first used in combat in an airstrike on an Islamic State tunnel network in northern Iraq. 283. For European basing, RAF Lakenheath in the UK was chosen as the first installation to station two F-35A squadrons, with 48 aircraft adding to the 48th Fighter Wing's existing F-15C and F. The first aircraft of the 495th Fighter Squadron arrived on the 15th of December 2021. 280 for 285. The F-35's operating cost is higher than some older USAF tactical aircraft. In fiscal year 2018, the F-35As cost per flight, RCP at FH was $44,000, a number that was reduced to $35,000 in 2019. 286. For comparison, in 2015 the CPFH of the A-10 was $17,716. The F-15C, $41,921. And the F-16C, $22,514. 287. Lockheed Martin hopes to reduce it to $25,000 by 2025 through performance-based logistics and other measures. 288. VFA-1 for 7 F-35C catches the wire on USS George Washington, U.S. Navy. The USN achieved operational status with the F-35C in Block 3F on the 28th of February on the 2nd of August 2021. The F-35C of VFA-1 for 7, as well as the CMV-22 Osprey, embarked on their maiden deployments as part of Carrier Air Wing 2 on board USS Carl Vinson. 289. USN F-35Cs operating from the USS Carl Vinson took part the training exercise Pacific Stellar 2025 in February, along with the French and Japanese navies. 290. In April 2025, F-35Cs from VFA-97 shot down multiple Houthi drones in the Red Sea, making it the first time the Navy has used the jet in combat. United Kingdom, F-35Bs M1 for 8 of No. 617 Squadron landing on HMS Queen Elizabeth. 2019. The United Kingdom's Royal Air Force and Royal Navy operate the F-35B, called Lightning in British service. 292. It has replaced the Harrier GR9, retired in 2010, and Tornado GR4, retired in 2019. The F-35 is to be Britain's primary strike aircraft for the next 3 decades. One of the Royal Navy's requirements was a shipborne rolling and vertical landing STOVL mode to increase maximum landing weight by using wing lift during landing. 290 for like the Italian Navy. British F-35Bs use ski jumps to fly from their aircraft carriers, HMS Queen Elizabeth and HMS Prince of Wales. British F-35Bs are not intended to use the Brimstone to missile. 295. In July 2013, Chief of the Air Staff Air Chief Marshal Sir Stephen Dalton announced that No. 617 Squadron would be the RAF's first operational F-35 squadron. 296-297. The first British F-35 squadron was No. 17 Reserve Task and Evaluation Squadron TAES, which stood up on the 12th of April 2013 as the aircraft's operational evaluation unit. 298. By June 2013, the RAF had received 3 F-35s of the 48 on order, initially based at Eglin Air Force Base. 299. In June 2015, the F-35B undertook its first launch from a ski jump at NAS Patuxent River. 300. On the 5th of July 2017, it was announced the second UK-based RAF squadron would be No. 207 Squadron. 301, which reformed on the 1st of August 2019 as the Lightning Operational Conversion Unit. 302. No. 617 Squadron reformed on the 18th of April 2018 during a ceremony in Washington, D.C., becoming the first RAF frontline squadron to operate the type. 303 receiving its first for F-35Bs on the 6th of June, flying from MCAS Beaufort to RAF Marhelm. 304. On the 10th of January 2019, No. 617 Squadron and its F-35s were declared combat ready. 305. April 2019 saw the first overseas deployment of a UK F-35 squadron when No. 617 Squadron went to RAF Akrotiri, Cyprus. 306. This reportedly led, on the 25th of June 2019, to the first combat use of an RAF F-35B, an armed reconnaissance flight searching for Islamic State targets in Iraq and Syria. 307. In October 2019, F-35s of 617 Squadron and No. 17 TS were embarked on HMS Queen Elizabeth for the first time. 308. No. 617 Squadron departed RAF Marhelm on the 22nd of January 2020 for their first exercise Red Flag with the Lightning. 309. As of November 2022, 26 F-35Bs were based in the United Kingdom with 617 and 207 squadrons, and a further 3 were permanently based in the United States, with 17 Squadron for testing and evaluation purposes. 310. The UK's second operational squadron is the Fleet Air Arm's 809 Naval Air Squadron, which stood up in December 2023. Thanks for watching. Until next time.